Hello guys, how's it going? It's LaserBeast here. I hope you're doing well today. And what we've got today is a bit of a guide on Soulbinds and Conduits, and I'm going to aim to tell you everything that you need to know about these two new systems in the Shadowlands. So the three main questions we're going to answer for both of these things are: what are they, how do you unlock them, and how do you get them basically. So what are they? So Conduits and Soulbinds are two new systems in the Shadowlands that are closely linked together, and you'll have access to different ones depending on your Covenant choice. So let's first talk about Soulbind. So these are NPC characters from your Covenant that you can actually link your soul with, hence the name Soulbind. So this grants you access to what is effectively a mini artifact talent tree that benefits your character in combat in some ways. So you literally bind your soul with this character, and the effects that you get are dependent on that character's tree. So within each Soulbind's path, you're basically faced with some options, and you can go on different routes down the Soulbind tree, depending on what your aims are, whether you want to be more tanky, whether you want, certain different benefits in combat. So it's all going to be based off your own choice and what you actually do with your character. You'll also see in the tree that there are some conduit slots, and we'll go into that just in a little bit. So how do you unlock these Soulbinds? So basically, you get access to the first two Soulbinds for your Covenant when you've done your Covenant's initial quests, where you're sort of setting things up and getting to know what's going on, setting all your stuff up for your Covenant, like your weekly event and all that sort of thing. Once you've done all that, then the third Soulbind option will be available once you've completed the Covenant's campaign. You don't get access to all the roles of the Soulbind tree initially either. What you need to do to get access to those is gain renown with your Covenant, which works similar to how reputation works, and you'll unlock roles as you go, as you gain more renown with your Covenant. So how do you get renown? So basically you get that by completing chapters of the Covenant campaign, which you're going to be doing as standard anyway, by completing a weekly quest to gather anima for your Covenants, which again you're going to be doing passively sort of, and by completing a quest where you gather lost souls from the Maw and return them to your Sanctum. So three main sources of renown for your Covenant. So what to do if you want to change your Soulbind tree? It's very, very simple. You can actually do this as many times as you want, whenever you want. All you need to do is go to the Forge of Bonds within your Covenant Sanctum, where you first got your initial Soulbind at the beginning, setting up your Covenant, and just click on that, go into the interface on there, and you can just click freely around these different paths. So you can choose, whichever path you want as many times as you want. There's no resource cost or cooldown on this. And to change actual Soulbind, so when you've got 2 or 3 unlocked, all you need to do is look on your minimap for the Covenant Sanctum button and click on that, and then underneath Soulbind powers, click on your current active Soulbind. Once you've clicked on that, it'll open the Soulbind interface, and from there you can change and activate a different Soulbind wherever you are in the world, on the fly, as long as you're in a rested area, or if you use one of these scrolls where you can reset your talents. Resetting Conduits is a little bit more strict, and we'll go on to that again shortly. So the Soulbind buffs and abilities are specific to each Soulbind in each Covenant, so they are an important factor when choosing your Covenant initially. So that's everything about Soulbinds, but what are Conduits, I hear you ask? So Conduits are a further way to customise your Soulbind trees that slightly enhance your class and spec. So they come in 3 different types: Potency, which are about improving your power in your role, whether that's like throughput in healing or more damage. They come in Endurance ones, which focus on basically defensive benefit, and they also have Finesse Conduits, which focus on improving your utility. Now initially these start off as just like minimal combat benefits, so it might increase the damage of a spell by 1%, or it might reduce the cooldown of your active mitigation by a couple of seconds, for example. But you're going to be able to scale these up though. These actually grow in power all the time, and we'll get into that in a bit. So you may notice that Conduits are spec specific. There's some for your DPS role, your tank role, your healer role, and specific to your class. So what this enables you to do is basically tweak your Conduits and Soulbind for your different roles. So if you are, for example, the Feral Druid that also plays Guardian, you can have 2 different setups for when you're doing those 2 different roles. So you're going to be able to get the most benefit from your Conduits and your Soulbind. And this will change. If you change your spec, this will automatically put you into what you had set up for that spec. It is important to note that you can only use a conduit once per Soulbind. So if you, for example, have 3 Finesse Conduit slots open with your Soulbind, you can't use the same Finesse Conduit 3 times. You can, however, use the same conduit again for your 3 different Soulbinds individually. So you can get use of the conduit for whatever Soulbind you're using. I hope that makes sense. As an example, on my Druid here, I can use my layered main conduit both with Naya and with Karain, as you can see there. So if you want to reset your conduits, if you've made a mistake or you want to change up how you've set things up, then you can do this again by going to the Forge of Bonds in your Covenant Sanctum and changing this by clicking on the button to reset your conduits. Now this does have a small resource cost. It was very small in the beta. It may have actually gone up on live, but hopefully not. And there is actually a weekly lockout of this. You can only do this once a week. Again, bear in mind that this may change once this has actually gone live when Shadowlands launches. So where do you get the conduits? So some of them come from quests, but there's actually multiple sources of where you can get these. So some of them unlock with your Covenant Renown progression, some from dungeons, some from raids and PvP vendors, and some come from multiple sources as well. So like you might get the same one from either a raid, a dungeon, or from doing PvP. So it doesn't necessarily force you to do any one type of content. For example, this one conduit only comes from the raid, this other conduit only comes from a dungeon. So you can basically check the dungeon journals, the raid journals, the PvP vendors, all the other sources, and see where you can get a specific type of conduit if you're aiming for like a particular one. So let's talk about how to upgrade conduits. So this is still a bit of a grey area, and we don't know all the possible ways of how to upgrade conduits, but one of the ways has been pretty much set in stone by Blizzard on the beta recently. And this is through Venari, which is a vendor in the Maw, who you'll get to know as soon as you go into the Maw at max level and start doing quests and unlocking Torghast and all that stuff. You'll get to know Venari, so you should know who she is at this point. So she sells an item called Manifest Aether's Hunt, which lets you add a conduit that you don't have already to your collection, or upgrade an existing conduit by 1 rank. Now we know there's going to be around 15 ranks of conduits, so what we're assuming at this point is, if you don't have every conduit unlocked, this will unlock a new conduit for you. If you do have every conduit unlocked, then this will randomly upgrade one of your existing conduits. There's been a bit of speculation to see if you just unlock the conduits that you wanted to use, so say you only unlock 4, and then if you use this item, would it just upgrade those 4? But the general consensus is that this will just continue to unlock conduits until you've got them all, and then it'll start upgrading them randomly one by one if you use this item. The item itself is actually relatively cheap to buy, and it costs 500 Stygia, which is a resource that you'll get as you quest and do world quests and things around the Maw. So it's something you can pretty much just farm, and if you really want to get all these conduits unlocked or get ranking them up really quick, you can just farm the Maw basically and do this, the more you farm, the faster you can rank these up. You don't need to do world quests though in the Maw. You also get Stygia from doing the twisting corridors in Torghast, so you're going to be doing that anyway, probably once a week, so you'll still get some passively from there. So it's likely that this isn't the only way that you're going to be able to upgrade your conduits. There's a lot of people that are quite angry about this because they don't want to farm the Maw, because the Maw in its current state with not being able to mount and things isn't the most exciting zone like a lot of people were, anticipating. So it's likely there's going to be other ways of upgrading your conduits. The understanding also seems to be that you can get conduits, at a higher base rank. So say for example, if you're doing a heroic dungeon and a conduit drops, it's going to be a higher rank than it would have been if that conduit had dropped on normal in a normal dungeon. So yeah, we still need to wait a bit and get these systems nailed down properly from the beta. Obviously, hopefully it's going to be done soon because we've not got long left till launch. But once it's updated, I'll update you guys with another video or in the description of this one. So there we go, that's pretty much everything you need to know about Soulbinds and Conduits. I hope that's made sense to you guys. It's a good system, it's going to be something you're going to be paying attention to throughout your time in Shadowlands and, progressing through as you go along. So I hope that's got you clued up on everything you need to know. Thanks for watching, guys. I've been LaserBeast. I'll catch you next time. And please do consider subscribing if you want to get more guides like this, and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Cheers, guys.